Does this ever happen to you when you're trying to drive a composite deck screw into composite decking?
Yep.
See, the screw's not flush, it's not countersunk, and it's not going down. Let me show you guys how we rectify this so that you don't have this problem when you're installing your deck boards. All right, guys, so I have a lot of people that are contacting me through social media and asking me, hey, Doc, we've had this problem. We're using this various composite deck board, varying brands. Most composite deck boards are very dense. They have a hard shell on the top, and then there's a harder like composite core inside the board as well. So if people are trying to either use Cortex or possibly a face screw with a painted head like this one has a gray head. It's a stainless steel screw with a gray head. It may have a problem embedding itself into the decking because the material is so hard. A lot of the problem stems from people just trying to drive the screw right through the decking and right into the top of the deck board, and it never flushes out correctly. Okay, so there's a couple things that we do to try to minimize that. Now, one is we use PVC. So this decking here is called TimberTech AZEK, and you can see all the samples of different holes we have here, and some of them are proud, but PVC is really easy to drive fasteners into. Most of the time you can use a Cortex screw and a Cortex bit or a T20 bit, and it'll just drive the screw right in. But what if you're building a decking and you have this expensive decking and you're trying to install the screws and they end up like this one right here? You're gonna have to pre-drill all your holes before you put in your screws. So there's a couple different methods we use. One is I use a tapered pre-drill bit. A lot of them are sold like this with a cutter head on. Now this one just has a lot of plastic embedded on top of it, so I can't get that off at the moment. But what we do is we take those cutter heads off and we just use a pre-drill bit just like this. It's a tapered head, so it has a really nice sharp point. And you can find these on Amazon. You can also buy them at Home Depot. They're about $10 a piece like this. If you buy them one at a time at a Home Depot tool corral, you can buy them on Amazon and get them for like $5 a piece, $6 a piece if you buy in bulk. So that's what I do. I buy 10 at a time. All right. So if you have the right sized drill bit, now this is a number 8, so I think it's 11/64. 11/64, what do you know? Okay, so if you go ahead and chuck one of those up in your drill and then you pre-drill your hole, that's gonna clear the way for that screw. Now, you might say, okay, well that might not be enough. Depending on the type of decking, this is the important part. Depending on the type of decking you have, I would set up a station like this and I would run all the different scenarios of the fasteners so that you figure out the one that you can repeat over and over and over again, because you're gonna run thousands of screws into the top of that decking. If you're doing Cortex, you're gonna use a Cortex bit. I don't have a Cortex bit, but I have a T20, and I know that if I drive it down a certain depth, that screw will be fine. So if I take this screw and that pre-drill hole, I just buried that thing plenty deep, probably too deep actually, to set that hole. But this decking is relatively soft. It's PVC compared to some of the composite cores, okay? A PVC core is easier to drive into. We don't have those problems that I get a lot of people writing me about, but TimberTech also makes composite boards and cap composites. So if you use that pre-drill, that's one way. There's also a thing called a smart bit. Now a smart bit, this is a number 7. They have number 7 and number 8. Either of those will work. Don't buy number 10. It's gonna put a cutter hole too big and it might be too big for your screw head size. Okay, so this bit automatically stops the depth of that drill bit. So when you drill this hole, it's gonna put a little extra eased edge right here. Now a number 8's not gonna leave you a lot, but it's gonna leave you enough of a cut so that it breaks the head of the screw. Okay, so you can kind of see how nicely that fits. Now this is a composite deck screw. These are made for Cortex. These also can be left for an exposed look. So let's just say I want to drive this screw just so it's flush. Well, maybe go a little bit more. Okay, so it just has a nice flush head look in the decking. The smart bit is going to help you ease away some of the material so that that screw will actually set itself in the decking. And that's the main problem. I've had this problem as well. And believe me, I've gone through and I've ran 50 screws in a piece of scrap until I figured out the perfect way to install those screws into the decking. That's my suggestion. Either you get yourself a smart bit or get yourself some tapered pre-drill bits, the right size. You might need to play around with the size of the drill bit to make sure that you have the right size to countersink the screws into that particular deck board. It depends a lot on the type of decking that you're gonna use. The other options are, you know, use that cutter head, but if you're gonna use exposed screws and you have a screw with a large head on it like this, that has like a V head in it where it's gonna kind of countersink into the material, you could probably get away with, well, again, I'm on a piece of PVC here, right? The reason I did my introduction for this video, this is a piece of composite. This thing right here, it's just a jig we use, but it's composite and I didn't have any other decking here. So that's why I use this, because I knew that it wouldn't drive all the way down, and trying to give you get the point across to you guys about if you've ever had this problem. And I've had a lot of people contact me with that problem, even professionals. And some say, yeah, I did use 1164 stock. Well, then you might have to do a combination of pre-drilling with this 1164th and get a number 8 smart bit to cut the head a little bit bigger so that you can drill a hole. Okay, so now my hole's drilled. Now I might even use it. I might chuck these up in different drills. Now I've actually pre-opened up the hole a little bit more for that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and drive this. That's a nice fit. That's another option right there. You just gonna have to play around with it a little bit to get that perfect install. It doesn't happen on the first time you do something. It might take you 20, 30, 40 different screws to finally say, hey, I can replicate this. If I can replicate it in 10 or 15 screws, then you should be able to replicate it on the entire deck. Also, just make sure that your tops, your joists are not free. That can be helpful as well. If you have a lot of knots, they're gonna be harder to drive the screw into, but that's where the tapered pre-drill bit may come in handy again as well, guys. All right, so let's just move this guy out of the way, and we'll go ahead and we'll pre-drill this hole. And you know what? Just for safety, we'll go ahead and run the top on it as well. I know this screw is gonna go in real easy on this particular install, so let's start with this one. Okay, that was probably a little too deep. And you can notice also one thing you want to look out for, those smart bits, they do wear out. There's a little rubber grommet right here on this bit. And if these get damaged or start to wear out, they can leave a ring on the decking. So be aware of that, okay? So let's pull that screw out. These can be difficult to get out once they're in. And now let's run a bigger head. Yep, that did good too. And again, a little too deep on that one. So you got to be careful. Again, by researching, doing your R&D and researching it, you can go, oh man, that went in really good, but maybe I overbored the hole a little bit too much and it's going to be too easy for me to overdrive the screws. So then you might want to consider backing out or maybe not doing that second step. Possibly only pre-drilling one hole like so. Okay. Oh, see? I didn't put the cutter head in. The screw stripped, and it still is proud. So that's exactly the problem some of these people are calling me and having. So if you're using a bigger head on your screw to hold the decking down and you're getting that problem, then you definitely want to relieve some tension on the top of the material. So let's pull this screw out. Let's pre-drill the hole. Okay, let's take our smart bit to relieve a little bit more tension off the screw head, and let's try that again. It's still a little proud. I think I could strip this if I wanted to, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. There we go. So again, still an issue, okay? So what do you do in that situation? Well, that's when you gotta start using maybe a bigger cutting head like this one. Since I have some hard plastic on it now, I'm gonna try to clean that off of this bit because we're not gonna leave you hanging, guys, because this is exactly the type of problems that people contact me about, they run into, they ask if I have any advice. So that's what the cutter head looks like when there's nothing bugged up against it, okay? So with this cutter head, we should be able to drill this. I wanna make sure I'm going into something solid below. Okay, I'm gonna pull and clean the head. Now I'm gonna go in and we're gonna keep going in until we feel like, okay, that looks pretty good. Like, if I go much deeper, I'm gonna be too deep, okay? Because I can see I'm about at the same size as the head of the screw. So I'm gonna stop there. And because I've been going slower, that's part of the reason why these are stripping, because I'm not using any force. There we go. Now we're flush. Now we're tight. We are not stripped. Now I know if I keep going, I can actually take this screw and strip it in this material, or it's gonna go deeper. It'll go in deeper because I pre-cut the head. You guys wanna see what happens? Okay. So right now I'm happy with that screw. I'm happy with the way it's sitting, but let's see what happens. It's either gonna strip or it's gonna go deep. So it did a little bit of both. It went a little bit deeper and then it stripped. So now the screw is stripped. It's still holding rather well. And again, this is a piece of plywood, so it might act differently in a piece of lumber, like timber treated joist or something like that. But I think that's a good example of how to go from a proud screw and turning it into something that you can subset so it looks nice by using these different tools that are available to you. Get them on Amazon, guys. All right, well, thanks for watching this video. If you got something out of it, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when we're putting out new content. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day.